Well, Ann Coulter, of course, best-selling author. Her latest book, In Trump We Trust. You should get that book if you haven't read it yet. Also, make sure you follow her on Twitter, Ann Coulter at Twitter. And her new column comes out tomorrow. You go to anncoulter.com, her website. Got a lot of stuff up there. You get the new column there. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you, Mark Simone?
Very good. Twitter took out a lot of followers last night.
What do you mean?
They did a little purging. I lost like 1,000 followers. I see a lot of people lost followers. They must have found some Russians or something there.
I've heard of that, and one of the Twitter sites I go to, mostly because he runs lots of pictures of cute beagles.
Oh, God.
Beagles,
oh, my God.
There was a warning on his site. I mean, he does do a lot of political stuff, but it's mostly for the beagle pictures I go there.
Oh.
And I clicked on his feed, and there was like a Twitter warning. It's the first time I've encountered that, and I've heard people have told me that, they can like shadow mute you. It's really getting out of control. I think these entities, Facebook and Twitter, they kind of need to be treated like public utilities if they are going to start doing the censorship here, which obviously is what the media is dying for. I think most people, no one under 50 watches TV anymore. Most people hear talk about, say, a shooting in Parkland, and they don't turn on MSNBC to find out what. They don't turn on CBS to find out what happened. They go on the internet.
Yeah, and even Peter Thiel, Silicon Valley genius, said he's pulling away from all of these people because he said they don't realize how much they're going to have to be regulated at some point.
Yes, and I must say they're bringing it on themselves. The whole idea of the internet was that it was the Wild West, and you'd have this unfettered free speech. But now, at least from what I've heard, I never really check things like that. Twitter analytics. I don't even particularly look at responses. I just make my pronouncements to the world, and then move on. But I've heard it's gotten pretty aggressive, and that it's being run by social justice warriors.
Well, but that's tradition. That's the way TV news is run. You ever watch Lester Holt's Nightly News? That was the most biased half hour. Hey, also, look at that gut-wrenching video, the mother who buried her child, and she's screaming into the camera, "Mr. President, do something!" It's the most emotional thing. But if you think if Obama was president, we'd be seeing that video all day and night?
Yeah, I noticed as soon as Obama became president, we stopped hearing about Cindy Sheehan.
Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
No, Obama sent more troops to Afghanistan, and utterly pointless. You can't even call it a war. It's just, let's send some Americans to be killed for no reason whatsoever. Of course, your president promised to end these pointless wars. I have gotten some warnings from Twitter. Sorry, my door is open.
You got warnings from Twitter?
Hang on. But the hilarious thing is they're mostly from German Twitter.
Oh.
Because I really love getting pointers on my phraseology from Nazi countries.
You got warnings?
Yeah, well, apparently what happens is people can just, they review it and then say, we see nothing wrong with this tweet.
Oh.
But then I'll get that exact same report for the exact same tweet over and over again, which I keep meaning to write to Jack Dorsey and say, I think this reporting system of yours itself violates the terms of Twitter. You are harassing me.
It's like you're in school getting these warnings from the principal. So, hey, the president's talking about some sort of change in gun regulations. Bump stocks or raising the age or something. But that's a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea. The one thing that I suppose they could do, it's not. I don't think it's going to do anything, but I don't think anybody would mind a regulation on these bump stocks because no one's ever heard of them before. So, if you have to throw some utterly useless gesture at people who don't seem particularly interested in reducing the number of school shootings, then that would be the way to go. I mean, anything else, as I tweeted earlier today, any Republican who goes along with some new gun restriction now is basically admitting, yeah, I decided not to do anything after that Newtown shooting. Even though I knew this would help, I wouldn't agree to it. I'm in the pocket of the NRA. Look, they knew it wasn't going to work before. That's why we've been against it. I think the point is we want to reduce the number of these shootings. And as you will see in my column being launched later tonight, one big step in that regard would be an immigration moratorium on close examination, which took an enormous amount of research. I'm not sure how many, a quarter, a third of mass shootings are committed by first and second generation immigrants. And of course, the most deadly shootings were by immigrants at Virginia Tech and the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. You take those out of the equation, and it becomes a much simpler problem to solve. It's in every one of these cases. I mean, I shouldn't laugh; it's horrible, but it's the exact same description with everyone around the usually young man saying, "Yeah, he heard voices no one else heard. He scared us." Often, the tattoo parlor operators are our first responders here. They're the ones who are saying, whoa, that's going to be the next school shooting. You see this over and over and over again. Why have mass shootings gone up? And they certainly seem to have. In fact, I think they certainly have in the last 20 years. Well, suddenly the results of Teddy Kennedy's 1965 Immigration Act, immigrants and the children of immigrants are getting involved in the act or coming in their own. And also, of course, in the 70s, I mean, Trump was absolutely right about this. It became much basically impossible to involuntarily commit someone. And if you're terrified of this mental health stuff, we're not talking about, girls with bulimia or agoraphobia. We're talking about very specific conditions, paranoid schizophrenia. And basically you need, short commitments and then just to make sure they take their medicine. Because they're going to get guns. The guns are out there. The idea that you can ban guns in America. I was looking at a map on Business Insider last night. I may tweet it later, of gun ownership by state. And it may seem very simple in a place like New York City. Oh, you only have to gather up about 1,000 guns. No, in Montana, 70% of the population have guns. In most states, I'd say it's about 30%. And consider that's generally, one person per household. Other than freaks like us in New York City, most people do live in households with other people. So you have to double or triple that for the access that the wife has to her husband's gun and the child has to the gun. No, guns are the things that keep us safe. And I suppose I can't say anything about mass shootings or any kind of shooting without throwing out the single most stunning statistic, which is 98% of all these mass shootings take place in gun-free zones.
Really?
Yeah, 98%. Remember, I don't know if you remember this. It was particularly telling. James Holmes, again, you could see from 50 yards. Psycho. And by the way, it could probably totally be taken care of with the right medicine, as doctor friends of ours have told us. Yeah. But you have to force them into it. When they're crazy, they don't know they're crazy. But anyway, you'll remember John Lott described, I forget the details, so don't hold me to this, but there were 3 or 4 other movie theaters closer to James Holmes showing the exact same movie, Batman, but he blew off those because they weren't gun-free zones and went to the movie theater that had signs posted all over gun-free zone.
Huh. Well, listen, there's no simple answer to this. And whenever he says gun control and doesn't give you 5 other things, they're not really trying to solve the problem. And Democrats, if the president were to propose some gun control, Democrats would have to get it killed because they need it for the midterm elections as an issue.
I don't think it helps him. I mean, I've noticed, even with these telegenic kids, MSNBC is kind of splitting its time between the completely phony Russia investigation and the Parkland shooting. And I mean, my guess is Democrats have to realize if a Democratic Senate could not pass anything on guns after the Sandy Hook shooting, oh my gosh, those little kids, 26 of them, if the country had no appetite, if Democrats in the United States Senate had no appetite for gun regulation back then, I think the Democrats may finally be realizing this isn't a good issue to run on.
Interesting. Speaking of Russia, Mueller indicts another small fish yesterday for something that had absolutely nothing to do with Trump or Russia. When is he going to shut this down?
No, this is really getting out of control. Remember the prosecutor, Patrick Fitzgerald?
Yeah.
A one-time, respectable prosecutor. He gets brought to Washington for the alleged illegal leak of Valerie Plame's name. It was supposed to be Karl Rove. Remember, we kept hearing Karl Rove is going to be marched out of the White House. At the end of that lengthy investigation, it turned out on day one, Patrick Fitzgerald knew no crime had been committed. He knew who had released Valerie Plame's name. It was that guy, Richard Armitage, who opposed the Iraq War. That's the guy who had leaked Valerie Plame's name, but it was not a crime. But that didn't stop him. He didn't just say, okay, done here, no crime was committed. Oh, no. He puts lots of people under oath. Scooter Libby's recollection diverges from Time Magazine's Matthew Cooper's recollection. So Scooter Libby gets convicted of perjury. He had to give up his law license. It's unbelievable. Well, this is what Mueller seems to be turning into. There is no underlying crime, so he's just trying to get people committing crimes as a part of the investigation. It's really, I mean, that is the Star Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, it's and in Armitage's defense, he didn't leak it. He just told Bob Novak because he knew that Valerie Plame wasn't undercover. She worked at CIA headquarters, drove in and out of there every day.
Completely, just like Russia, it was a completely invented crime. There was no crime there.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. I didn't mean to suggest that Richard Armitage had done anything wrong. It's just that it wasn't even Karl Rove. It wasn't even Scooter Libby. It was someone who opposed the Iraq War, doing something that is not a crime. So why was anyone ever put under oath to say, when did you talk about this, to whom, who told you? There's no crime to investigate, so the only crime is as part of the investigation itself. It's outrageous. It ought to be shut down, this Mueller thing.
Yeah. Well, Ann Coulter, always great talking to you. Everybody get her book. If you haven't gotten her book, In Trump We Trust. Oh, and go back and get the book Adios America. That's the one that Donald Trump read and was quite moved by. Adios America. And your new column comes out tonight?
Yes, for the truly eager, it comes out tonight. Otherwise, you can wait until tomorrow.
So go to AnnCoulter.com or follow Ann Coulter on Twitter or on Facebook. Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
Take care.
We will make America great again.